Hey, it's Reyff Designs. We're back, and this is kind of a different episode here because, well, let me just show you. So, I painted this motorcycle about 20 years ago, and done all the airbrush work, candy work on it, and the bike had changed hands, and the bike fell over, and what got ruined or scratched up was the tank, this little divot of course, and the lid. The lid I don't have here right now, but he got a replacement lid. And this bike was a police bike from the 80s, I believe. I could be wrong. So basically the guy reached out to me, he said, hey man, can you match the paint again? And I said, well, I don't know. I want to say I even mixed this black paint. It's got metal flake in it, gold metal flake. I literally just popped the flake in there and, mixed it and rolled with it for the whole bike. So right now I'm getting the paint matched, and after seeing the tank, I kind of want to show you the steps what I was going to take to repair this and the lid. And some new products are out there that I'm going to try and make this all work smoothly and see what we get. So this is what this episode will be about, is me repainting this tank. And I'm going to try to tape off the graphic to right here, and it's going to be very difficult no matter what I do here. I don't really want to have to redo this whole graphic. It took hours. I was going to do a little touch up here and here, and I will talk with the customer, see what he wants to do about it, but I'd rather maybe just fix these little dingy-doos in the front because you're not going to see them in front of the bike. But definitely fix this, repaint the whole black part of the tank, repaint this pinstripe. I believe it was aluminum color that I used with a orange glow PPG color, and I'm going to see if I can get away with it. First steps will be to take all this apart, of course, and kind of get into it. So here we go. So I've got the new old lid that the customer bought, and we're going to have a top pop here instead of the old style Mickey Mouse ears that was in there. And I basically just pulled the spring out like this way. So that's pulled out and that's removed. Had a little foam piece in here. We're going to take that off. I'll use some adhesive remover for this. But next we're going to pop the rivets out. I'm just going to use a 3/16 and slowly drill them out. Easy as that. And there we go. All right, next we're going to use a number 30 drill bit to pop these rivets out, and I'm going to glue this in place. That way we can make it all flush looking in the front. That's how the original one was done. And there we go. Because we don't want the look, we're just going to basically fill in these holes, do a little body work, wet sand, shoot, ready to go. Same thing with these. We're going to fill these holes in and have that pop top that will pop up and have a cleaner look. We will keep these in place. I gotta look at the other lid, but I believe this is off also. All right, so this puck off this lid here, it had this rubber, not rubber, excuse me, it's kind of like a foam piece that fits inside this puck so it doesn't scratch the surface of the lid. But what it did was it was kind of glued on there with like a double-sided tape, and I'm basically trying to finish taking that off. I like to use general purpose adhesive cleaner. There's other removers out there It's just easier for me. I've always used it. I just kind of saturate the tape or whatever I'm trying to remove. It could be a backing to a reflector, it could be whatever. Trim on a panel. And what it will do is kind of gel this up. Basically use my fingernails to kind of pull it. And this is the last little bit left on it, of this lid. I will try to basically get all that off because I'm going to repaint this lid, the whole lid, right? So I don't want anything on there that's going to cause me any issues, which this would. And you don't want it on there anyway, because one, it's not going to be used again, that style of opener. Again, I just saturate it, put it on a rag, scrape away at it carefully. You could use a razor blade, but razor blades might have a tendency to actually scratch the paint or the surface. And I want to try to alleviate most of that if I can. So when we wet sand this for final paint, it's not one extra step I have to take to fill those lines or the scratches. So as you can see, that's all kind of taken off, and I'm basically just going to clean that off, and now all the residue off of that double-sided tape is gone. So this is the old lid. It got all cracked up, crashed out, so forth, so on. I'm basically going to mimic everything I did originally on this one and do it on the other one that it's a used lid, but we got to repaint it different color. Anyways, this is the locking mechanism. I was having a hard time for it to lock, but now it's locking again. It pops. It's a cleaner look. I might replace it. The owner's getting me a brand new one, but I'm going to use this to mock up the other one. All right, we'll just take this off. And we'll punch this through. And pull it out. All right, I've got to remember how I increase this hole size because I can't. Also have to figure that out. Let's probably just use some files. Open it up. All right. I have center drilled the old holes for the Mickey Mouse opener, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the old mount back in it, get things lined up. I've made a circle cutout, and I'm going to apply this on the opposite side once I get everything kind of clecoed in. Again, I don't have the bag here to make sure exactly which way I need to go with this opener, but I should be able to do a template off the old one to the new one, and everything should be hunky-dory. I'll flip this over. Like I said, I've already made a circle patch, and that should fit. So I can make a rough line on my new lid, and I will tape this into place. There's not an exact science to this, but basically I'm making a quick template. So this is one way we can do it. Another way, and I'll show you another way, which I probably will do anyways because I like that a little better, is I'm actually going to get a piece of cardboard here, cleco it, draw the line, put it on the other side, and it should be the same too. So we're going to do that next. That's one way you could do this. Okay, so here's another way if you don't have all the tools, clecos or whatever, but I got a piece of paper, or basically a pattern paper, cardboard stock. I re-drilled the holes for the original mount, which would be this right here, right? If it was sitting on there. With that, if I take these out, put the original mount back in there, I just use some oversized rivets which were in there. I flip it over, I draw my hole from the old lid, and I'm going to transfer this. I'm going to cut this out and transfer it to the new lid, and it should be get me pretty close to where all I have to do is do some little bit of file work, and that lock should be in the correct position. I'm going to go ahead and pull this pattern out, cut it carefully, and transfer it to the other one. Okay, so I've basically finished cutting my pattern out with my razor blade. Nothing special. I have the hole out. And now we're going to go ahead and, like I said, carefully transfer. All right, so now we have this pattern set up. We're going to go ahead and transfer it over. And I know that my hole should be towards the outside, right? So simple enough. We're going to plug this back in to the holes that are there. This will be my pattern holder, right? And I will get my marker and mark away. There we go. I'll pull this off, the template. That should give me a pretty good hole where I need to be at. And that looks about the same as the other one. So I'll start filing this out. When I get closer, I'll get back with you. So as you can tell, I just take my time. Using a rat tail file, just slowly getting that hole perfect. And I will use other little files and we'll finish this up and make it look pretty. I did want to mention one more thing about the pattern making from the one lid to the other lid is that whatever you're making your template off of, make sure you put up an indicator of the pattern being up or down or however you've put it on there on the original one, because you could screw this up and accidentally, if you didn't mark it, didn't know, and see that the actual template or the pattern, it would be different if it's not exactly to where you've pulled it from. I'm gonna have to finish filing this out, right? Because I want to double check my template. And so if I reverse this accidentally, you can see that this is actually moved over a hair over in this section here, right? So would it lock still? Probably. But you want to make this exact as you can off of the original template. Know that you are correct. As you can see, the green is covered by my paper template. If I take it over to the original, I can put it back on, this being up of course, and as I move this across to my markers, I know that the hole is perfectly in the center of this template. So, just sometimes just double check yourself. Make sure, don't measure once, measure twice, cut once. It's easy to escape you at times. So, with that, I'm going to keep on filing away. All right, so I finished filing the hole out. I've used basically these two files. And it's basically smoothed out this round hole. Again, I used my templates and kept on finishing out that hole until my lock fits in there snugly-ish. Then I'm going to have paint. Paint's going to fill the hole. Everything's looking good. Put my nut on and everything should fit correctly like it did on the original one. Now I don't have the saddlebag, but I'm guessing if everything is correct, it should fit just like the old bag did. Next we'll get ready to glue some items on and then go from there. Okay, so since I've got my hole finished for my locking mechanism, I'm getting everything prepped to actually fill these holes in and back tape these two holes, and I will backfill these 4 holes because there was a backing plate for the back of this, and this is holding the cable, so it allows you to open up this lid and keep it in position. So basically what we're going to do is glue this in right here. I've just prepped the metal, sanded it basically, and sanded the plastic, and I will glue this with some 3M glue, and that'll be the next process. So to fill these holes, initial fill, I'm going to use 8223. I basically kind of want to push this glue into, or the adhesive into here. It'll fill the holes. We'll do some body work to it, and then this should be ready to prime and then paint. So I'm going to use 8223. It's about a 5-minute window. This stuff is not cheap. It's probably, depending on where you get it from, $50 to $80. And you also have to have a gun to push the fluid out. So this is like another $50. And the gun I'm using is a 08571 gun. Anyways, I'm going to mix this on a piece of cardboard because I'm just not going to, I don't need a whole lot for this application. So typically it'll come through a tube, it'll squeeze through the tube, but all that waste is waste to me. And I've had great success with this, so I'm sure I'm going to probably get some input below about it, but whatever. It's worked great for me in the past. So All right, that's what's next. Okay, I've just squeezed one squeeze out of my glue, and we will mix. Again, I'm just trying to fill the hole up. Get an old Bondo blade. Okay, next, put some glue in here. Put it back in position. And we'll just kind of smooth that out, make it look pretty. Again, we've left the tape there so you can kind of smooth it to the tape. You pull the tape line, it should be a pretty nice looking line there. As this stuff starts to cure up, again, it takes 5 minutes to cure up, and here I'm just going to start cleaning it up a little bit. Let it get more hard. The Clecos hold it in position. I have a little lacquer thinner on my rag here. Okay, this glue is already sitting up. I'm just trying to get it to where I can clean it all off, and it will cure. Take about 5 minutes or so, and then we can backfill the other side. That's the goal. Okay, that'll be in place. And again, you'll never see this. It'll be underneath the lid. It's just mainly you want to make it look nice, so when you do open the lid, you think, oh man, was it designed that way? I will pull this tape off, pretty it up a little bit more. Well, now I'll clean these up a little bit better. Just try to do less work. Again, I'm gonna have to sand this anyway. I bought a special urethane filler. We're gonna try it, never tried it before. And again, I'm basically just trying to clean this up. Less work, less sanding, less scratches. Fiberglass, urethane, plastics, they like to show themselves later on when you're buffing. No matter what you do, you try to hide it, but sometimes they will show back up. And last but not least, I'll kind of clean these up over here, and then we'll start prepping the piece for the finish line. All right, so now I've got my holes backfilled with the 3M adhesive glue. Everything looks good and tight. This came out real nice after being taped off. You would never know unless they probably told you. And we're going to go ahead and backfill this with some Sure Seal plastic surgery. See if you guys use this. I'm sure it's going to be a lot more expensive now because of the tariff issue, but basically we will spray it with some adhesion promoter, the two areas. I'll mix this 1-to-1. We'll backfill the areas first just so I can kind of get a buildup, make sure it gets all filled, and I'll go back over it again, clean it, and then we should be ready for primer. So that's what's next. All right, I've already sprayed my two areas with the adhesion promoter, and I'm about to go ahead and mix. So it's 1-to-1. The best way to measure this would be by weight, but it's all things. I'm sure it'll be just fine. Calibrate eyeball. Let's see, it's wait about 30 minutes for it to completely dry. Make sure it's thoroughly mixed. Get my Bondo blade, and we'll just first we'll just kind of fill in the deep areas. I Sanding this to 80 grit, just like the product said to do. Try to feather it. So that's about it. We'll let it dry and then we'll start sanding. Clean this up a little bit, then we'll sand. Probably have to do this a couple times over. Sand her down, get ready for primer. I got the bodywork done on this lid, and you can lightly see the hole. And it's smooth. When I primer this, I'll build a layer on it, and it'll be easy to wet sand this and block this out. Also finished up these holes. As you can see, you see the hole barely. And I feathered this into, and I've used U-Pull Dolphin. I went back to what I know. It's easier that way for me. I know it's going to last. I can tell that it feathered in. It bit into the material. And again, when you wet sand this, block it, it'll be good. One thing I didn't take account for was that on the other piece, I had the original piece 20 years ago, of course. I had put a filler in here to make this flat all the way down. And I took this piece off. All it was double-sided tape, piece of plastic that goes right here. And of course, I made it smooth so it would be one long piece, you know, look like it's supposed to be there. And now I'm trying to remember what I actually used. So what I'm probably going to do is cut the other lid, because I know it's already destroyed. Basically, it's all scuffed up right here. I'll cut a piece out right here and glue it in, and then body fill that all in. Paint it, and you'll probably never know it. Matter of fact, I didn't even know it on that one that I actually did until I looked at it again. I could tell because I had glue inside these little holes. And so that's where I'm at. I'm going to have to get a little more of a bite in here so I can get the glue to adhere to this. I'll cut a piece from the other one and then glue it in here and then mold it and shape it. So, yay me. All right, there we are. All right, I'm going to make this, I'm going to basically grind this a little bit so we have some bite to it. I'm going to lie, I love this little Bosch tool, little sanding disc. I can't remember what I paid for it, but man, I tell you, I love this little thing. Okay, this is the piece I basically cut out of the other lid. Same kind of lid, just cut the top out of it because this side was already cracked. So, you know, basically going to use the same material, and I will etch this too. All right, so I've cut this line and I've sanded it straight. So basically, I'm just going to start fitting this. So I'm pretty sure that's what I did with the other one. And slowly get it to where it will fit nice and snug, and I can add some glue. So it's fitting fairly nice right here, although there is an angle to it. So I'm going to try to get this to fit a little bit better. a little finesse to get this. The closer the fit, the better it'll be. Get the rest of the glue. Now this side. I'll cut this and then start grinding it so it all fits in there. Alright, so I've got my piece fitting pretty good. You can see the bevel that I've put into it. And when we clamp this down, it should be pretty good here. Okay. Now I've got to do a little sanding up here, get this level. And you can see at the top view, we'll put some glue in there. And then, you know, a little Bondo, a little sanding, and a little primer, and hopefully be just like the other. And it looks fairly even going across. So, again, we'll have to do a little Bondo work across to get it all smoothed out and make it look good. Alright, I'll do some finishing touches and we'll glue it on. Alright, I'm mixing my glue. I'm using 8223. I've had good success. Yes, it's a universal adhesive. It cures within about 5 minutes. So within those 5 minutes, you have time to maneuver your object around or whatever you're gluing. It should adhere pretty well. So then after that, we'll do some Bondo work, smooth it out, primer it, and hopefully at that point, we'll be ready for the lid. So, alright, here we go. It does have a mixing nozzle for the glue, but since I'm using just a small amount, a lot of times I'll just take about 30 seconds to a minute to mix. I've had good success doing it this way. I'll go ahead and fill these holes up. I have back masses with tape. These will also act like a plug for the piece that we're gluing, meaning that it will actually help it adhere to it and bite into the piece. At least that's our intention, right? We know in the corners we need a little extra, and we'll be ready to go. I've already preset my vice grips. And we're basically going to try to flush this thing out. Squeeze it. Instead, try to keep everything flush. This time I'll start cleaning it up a little bit. Use a little alcohol. Just try to start smoothing this out so it looks like it's supposed to be there. Again, we'll sand that down later. This time this glue is somewhat malleable, so you can squeeze it into the, I guess, the cracks. Add a little bit right in here. Sometimes I'll maneuver this like Bondo, clean up some of the mess that doesn't need to be there. I don't want to do extra work, so I'll clean up some of the glue. Alright, I'll start cleaning up some of the cracks because we're almost to the point where we're at no return. Just let it cure and work it. Trying to get the actual bend of the actual lid, because that will be a pain in the ass to sand later. The flat portion will be easy, but to get this groove, I guess if you want to call it anything, alright, we're about point of no return now, and looking good. Gonna get my damn clamp to stay on there. We'll let that cure. That's kind of, we're gonna let it cure overnight. I'll pull the vice grips off tomorrow and kind of let it do whatever it wants to do, and then I'll start sanding and shaping and make sure that line looks good. And then when you prime it, you shouldn't be able to see it. So again, I've used the same material, same plastic, used the other lid to cut this piece out. We use 8223 adhesive glue. We shaped this piece before we actually installed it. I pre-staged my vice grips so I knew when I was ready to clamp it, they'd be ready to go. Hopefully it doesn't walk on me, because it wants to. Kind of keep an eye on it for the next minute or so. Wait till tomorrow. So basically, I sanded this this lid with the new piece we've filled it in with, and now we'll start doing some body work, a little Bondo work, filler work. It's probably the best way to put it. Most people know it by Bondo, but we're going to do some filler work on top of this, fill in the little gaps that the glue didn't get, and basically I've shaped this filler piece for this lid, as you saw before, and sanded the bottom side. Also, and I'll have to do some body work in here too, finish up this line in here, and then we'll prime all that. So basically that's the steps right now. We just basically just kind of shape this, and I'll start, like I said, putting some filler in there, and then I should be able to feather from here all the way into here, and then also into here also. The tape's here so I don't scratch too much into this lid, because there's no glue up in here, it's just a lid. And I'll shape this corner here as I fill this in and make it better. So those are the next steps. Do a little body work to it, or filler work to it, and continue on till we get it perfect. Alright, so I've taped off the lid. Still got to clean it before we do our primer work. I've taped off to the inner edge because it's going to be a lot easier to wet sand that edge off primer wise than it is to a panel. And since this whole thing's been body worked, filled in holes, made holes, such and such, we basically are going to prime this whole lid. I use Duster 3000 downdraft. I got 2 of them. And it's my miniature paint booth. So anyways, next will be to prime it. Clean and then prime and then let it cure. All right. Alright, I'm using 271 NCP. I have it left over. It's 3-to-1. Using NCX 275. And mixing up the primer. Basically mix it up for about a minute or 2 minutes and pour it in the gun. I'm using a Sada NR95. I've just had this gun forever. It was a great gun back in the day. So it was a great gun for primer work. I'm using a 1.5 nozzle. And yeah, I'm gonna get shooting here in a minute. Alrighty. All right, so sometimes I like to be outside to wet sand, just enjoy the weather and take a break from the shop. But anyways, the lid's been primed. It's been secured. Before the last coat of primer I put on a guide coat. So we're going to use the guide coat to show us any imperfections that have been left from my body work, which hopefully there are none. So now the process is just wet sanding. I usually use 400 to 600 grit sandpaper. Anything more than that doesn't seem like the paint likes to bite that well. So I typically will do 4 and then finish with 6, and then yeah, get ready to paint it. So that's where we're at with this. The tank's done too, but we're just gonna go through some steps of just wet sanding. I usually get a block and wrap that block with sandpaper, and to start this off, I'll just do 400 grit. So as you can see, as we're cutting the primer, there are some imperfections right here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but so those are scratch marks, or sanding marks, excuse me. Of course, scratch marks. And the guide coat will allow you, will basically show all the imperfections. And so you're basically wet sanding this to where you see no more black. And it cuts real fast. I like using NCP 271 because it does cut, but I will probably be changing here in the near future because it's expensive. And there's other primers that are the same cutting ability, but as you can see, this cuts pretty fast. Now I'm using 400 right now, and keep the water going. I have soap. I use Dawn soap in my water. One, it keeps it clean at the same time as I'm cutting, and allows the block to glide on top of the surface. So basically I'll repeat this for the tank too. We'll get back to the tank, but so as you can tell, this is basically done, and we'll continue on. I'll just keep on blocking the whole thing. I'll be doing some finger work in here, of course, just to kind of yeah, I could probably use some kind of block by the time you see this and paint it, and this is not going to be a full-time show bike, so I'll hand sand all that in there, take time to clean all that up, and then get it ready and prepped for the finished paint. So all right, here we go. All right, back in the booth. We're ready to start putting some color down. We got the lid done. That's all finished. My paint booth is somewhat in still disarray. Still trying to get things lined out, metal out of here. I'm pretty happy. Came out pretty good. So, pretty excited about this being back on the bike. All right, and for that, that's me, Reyff Designs. We'll see you guys later. Bye.